Welcome to Rides and Drives Team Radio, the ultimate IndyCar fan podcast. I'm Kaz. I'm here with Harvey, and I think the only appropriate thing to do right now is to raise our glasses and toast not just an incredible season, but the most exciting finish to the season I have ever had. After listening to Alex Below, I'm drinking a glass of champagne. Harvey, what do you have?
I have a New Glarus spotted cow. I think we can see that, right?
A Wisconsin classic.
Great Wisconsin classic. If you ever make it to the state, folks, stop by the New Glarus Brewery and have yourself a spotted cow. Cheers.
Cheers, Harvey. What a season.
Unbelievable season, but we're not talking about the season.
No.
We'll do that next week.
Season recap comes next week.
Today, we're talking about a race that lived up to the season. I mean, this put a cap on it like no other season-ending race I've ever seen. It was unbelievable.
I stand by what I said at the end of the race. I think across any motorsport series, this is one of the best races I've ever watched live.
Yeah. Indy did a phenomenal job of making this the final race. So many great storylines coming into the race. So many storylines played out through the race. And just really fun driving, great driving, great just moments of things that happened that threw the race into chaos. I mean, this was even more of that beautiful chaos that Malukas talked about last week.
There was a 10-lap period where I thought I was just going insane. I'm seeing wheels, I'm seeing tires puncture. I'm seeing drivers who are excellent make bizarre pit stop goofs. I'm just seeing the craziest detrimental stuff happen to driver after driver. And I look up at where we are on laps, and I realize that we still have half the race to go. It was just an absolutely wild 2 hours.
Yeah, it was great. And this is the kind of race that if you're a race fan, you go back and rewatch this race. I mean, I will make sure we put a link to the full replay of this race in the comment section of the podcast so people can go ahead and look for it, because if you missed it, just watch it and watch it start to finish, because
I don't care if you know the results already. It is still worth watching. Sometimes with sports, if you know who won, you don't really need to watch. This is not one of those races.
Right.
This is an all-timer for me.
Yeah,
I'm going to watch this one years from now.
Yeah, there was great action up and down and all throughout the race. There wasn't a moment where you went, "Oh, I can get up and go get a beer now," or I can,
under
whatever.
Caution. That was it. That was the opportunity.
Yeah. And those were, relatively few and far between. Obviously you had the one on the first lap. So unfortunate. When you consider what Rasmussen did last week and to biff it on the first lap this week, kind of crazy.
And when I saw him hit the wall, I thought to myself, okay, well, what did he do? And it really sucks for him that it seems like he just hit a little dirty air.
Yeah, he
didn't quite have the grip that he needed with that dirty air, and just...
He was in that four wide pack. He had to check up, and when he checked up, the rear end got light, because what happens, I don't know if you know this, when you check up, the weight goes down onto the front tires, right? And it lifts the weight off the rear tires. And so when he did that in the middle of a corner, then the rear end gets light, it steps out, and there he goes. It was really unfortunate because he had been so brilliant last week, and I was really hoping to see whether he could repeat that performance with this week. But at the same time, he didn't take anyone out with him, which was great. Really good driving by the people around him to avoid it. And just it provided, kind of this start to the race that was like, oh God, what's going to happen next?
It's very much last week's winner, who was so great and aggressive on an oval, is gone. Anything can happen. And at the restart, we got an incredible, glorious couple of set of laps when Pato and Palou were back and forth, wheel to wheel for what was that, like 5 to 7 laps as they ran around the track.
Yeah,
Back and forth. I think they changed lead three, four times.
right. And we talked about we were texting back and forth during the race as that was going on. And then it was very interesting after the race to hear Alex talk about that in the press conference. They asked him, someone asked him about, that, and he said, I went side by side with him. I thought I wanted to see what he had. I wanted to see what I had. I wanted to, and then it got to the point where it's like, I'm not going to get by him. And my tires were really not happy with me being on that high line, running that hard for that long. So he dropped back in. And then
Well, and you
that
saw what happened to his tire.
right. He
So,
he had a cut on his tire, and again, luckily for him, he said I felt it coming out of the corner, so he had time to react. It didn't explode on him in the middle of a corner where he would have been in the wall, like what happened to Pato. So he was able to just guide that car down to the apron, take it around, get into the pits, have everything change, and only lose 3 or 4 spots because he was there at it was right inside the pit cycle window anyway. It,
this even Alex's bad luck is sometimes good luck.
yeah,
The cut happened, as you said, going into the corner, not fully in. He was able to react. On top of that, he's close to the pit entrance. If that had happened on the other side of the track, he would have had to limp a whole lot further. Maybe he could have made it, maybe not. He definitely would have lost a lot of places. Alex Palou's bad luck is still good luck for him. And yeah, the fact that it happened on lap 52, right in the pit window, right when everybody else came in at lap 57.
right.
It
So
really
so
didn't hurt
what
him.
happened was he got 3 laps of undercut, which
Yeah.
helped him gain position
Yeah.
in that pack. So yeah, like you said, his bad luck is pretty damn good luck.
Something on high is looking up for Alex Palou. I think that much is quite clear.
Yeah. At least this year. We'll see what happens next year.
Incredible performance from him, though, to avoid putting that into the wall. Even though the timing was right for him to be able to, he still had to make the hard move to do it, to get it into pit lane, to keep presence of mind. I reference my friend who is IndyCar or who is Formula One more than IndyCar often, and he texted at that point, "Wow, what a shame to see Alex fall so far." And I said, don't, don't think about it. He'll be back inside the top five within 15 laps. He was back inside the top five within like six. It didn't even take the 15.
No, I
That's
know
just
they
who
went
Alex
they
is.
went through those pit cycles, and fortunately, again for him, there wasn't a yellow during that cycle, so
Hmm.
it all worked in his favor.
Yeah. And he performed really beautifully today and did a lot of good things. But ultimately, even though he won the championship, Alex is not the story of the day today.
No, the story of the day today is Team Penske, which
I'm so glad to see it for them.
yeah, I mean we talked about this yesterday. They definitely have been better on the ovals. They have started to put something together. I'm bummed I didn't get to ask a question during the press conference after the race because I really wanted to ask, what are the 2 or 3 specific things you can point to in these last 4 races that have allowed you to finish to the front of the pack? Because they all talk in these platitudes, right?
Sure.
About, oh, we've just, the team's really come together. Then, but somewhere they've done something. And I would
Something
love to hear, what clicked.
something that I thought was interesting. While that question exactly wasn't asked, it was alluded to on several occasions. And something that really stuck out with me from Newgarden's press conference is how much he kept saying, look, I know we've had some bad things happen to us and we've made some bad mistakes this year, but I feel that we put in winning performances many more times than we've won. And people are going to ask what's different, what's different. It felt like things just worked. Things we were doing all season, we just got them to work now.
Yeah, and talking about these press conferences, Scotty Mac's press conference was funny because first of all, he sat down at the table and said, "Let's get this over with." He clearly had plans he wanted to get to, but the one thing he said that really stuck out to me, and it summarizes this whole race, he said, "This was a goddamn proper IndyCar race."
Yeah. Really
and
good, proper goddamn IndyCar oval race. That's what
yeah,
he said. He's
yeah.
such a funny guy.
It was it, and again, he was a part of one of the most incredible sequences of the race. The last 10 laps of him running wheel to wheel with Kiffin Simpson. And they were side by side, and then he dropped back a little, and then he come up side by side, and then to set him up the way he did, and like he said, I suckered him into moving up a little bit and or thinking I was going to
Moving
move up,
inside. Yeah.
and he moved inside where he couldn't get a good run off that last corner, and that's all it took to give him the third step on the podium, which was really
I
brilliant.
I loved what he had to say about that whole sequence. First of all, I loved watching it. It was so exciting. And again, you gotta love a driver who you don't know as well, like Kiffin Simpson, doing something like that. It's fun to get to know these younger drivers better and to kind of get an image of what we're going to be seeing in years to come. Outside of that, when Scott was talking about that exchange, first of all, he said that it was his favorite racing he's ever done on an oval. That's already a huge compliment for Kiffin. And then he had such lovely things to say about Kiffin's racecraft. He compared him to Alex and Joseph
Yeah.
in the way he raced him there. I can't think of a nicer thing to say. I know, I think the announcers on TV at the end of the race said, "Oh, a disappointing fourth for Kiffin Simpson." I don't think so at
No,
all.
and Chip Ganassi confirmed that in the final press conference when he said, it may be serendipitous, but I was talking to his dad a couple weeks ago, and his dad said, maybe we should have Kiffin race here. Maybe he needs to do this, whatever. And Chip said, no, he just has to get better at ovals, and now he doesn't even have to do that. He's like, he
He's
showed me
proven he's
he
got the
can race
sauce.
ovals. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be. He did himself a lot of favors with that. I mean, he's been getting better and better all season long. So it was a great piece of racing and very exciting. And just, people were online talking about how exciting the Formula One race was today. It's like, come watch an IndyCar race with me, please, please,
Yeah,
please.
I couldn't get over this one. I made so many weird noises. Okay, let's
Well,
talk about. Oh, go.
I was just going to say, just because we got these numbers, and I think they are relevant to talking about
Yeah,
this race and why it was so exciting to watch. There were 284 passes for position during the
on
race.
track passes
On
for
track
position.
passes. 130 of those passes were among the top 10. 74 of those passes were in the top five. There were 12 leaders and 20 lead changes during this race. That and 300-mile race, 2 hours. So that, if you want to see racing and you want to see cars going at it wheel to wheel, that it's hard to beat that.
And the race win was decided by a half a second.
Yeah, and it was a half a second because Alex backed off.
Yeah,
He was
he
two
was
tenths
running
he was two
point 0.2,
tenths of a
point 0.3
second.
seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those whole last 5 laps, and then when he realized he couldn't get him, coming out of the turn four, he just lifted up a little bit because he knew he didn't have anyone behind him. Let's get
Mhm.
across the finish line so I
Mhm.
can get down and do those donuts.
And he looked beautiful doing them.
He
Unfortunately, Joseph didn't look so great on it.
No, that was
And he
funny.
did he did confirm that he made a mistake, that he did not intend to park the car and run into the crowd. He said running into the crowd was great and he wanted to do it if he could,
Right.
but he said he was going to burn the engine to the ground and he didn't get a chance. So that's kind of a bummer.
Right. He said I tried to spin it. I missed my angle. I ended up pointing at the wall. I'm like, good enough. He parked it, hopped out
Let's
of the
go
car.
in.
Let's go in the stands. And good for him. Hometown boy, win on his home track. It's funny because it sounds like it meant more to everyone else than it did to him in the press
He was
conference.
so nonchalant about it. He wanted recognition for his team, he kept saying. Of course he wants to win a race, but
Yeah.
for him, he said that winning this race doesn't change how he views the season. And it doesn't really, he said even the prospect of having a winless season didn't phase him the way it might have in the past, that he really just wanted to focus on getting out there and doing the best Penske could, because it's been a while since I think they've gotten to feel like that as a team, and he wanted that not just for himself but for everybody there.
Yeah.
He came off really humble and grateful for
Yeah.
this hard fought win.
And hard fought win. And, Scotty Mack, could have finished second, but had that little bobble on the restart with 10 laps to go and couldn't get back. And then, it could have been a great day for Penske because power was so strong. The way he passed all those cars in the middle of the race to get to the front, it was like, oh my
Yeah.
God. And then he comes in and overshoots his pit box. And it was a comedy of errors from there, shuffled him to the back of the pack. And, it just ruined his race, which is unfortunate because would have loved to have seen him finish high and really, you know, really bring that home for the team.
It would have been amazing to see Will finish well this race. I mean, he did what he could after a bad incident. One thing I do, still on the topic of Penske, before we really dive into Will, I wanted to say that I thought it was really funny at the press conferences that Scott said if he could have gotten past Alex or held Alex off, he had something for Joseph. And he seemed pretty convinced that he could have put it to him and taken the race win. Joseph was 100% convinced. When asked what he was thinking when Scott slid, he said, "Oh, I was going to pass him anyway. I didn't really. I was right there. I was setting it up. I was ready to go. That race was mine already."
Yep.
And that just happened to happen at the same time. So I thought it was really funny that they both had the pure confidence that they were going to kick the other one's butt if it came down to it. And that's how
Right.
you have to race when you're that competitive. And those guys have a great relationship too. So it's fun
Yeah.
to see them goof around off the track and then mix it up on.
It was pretty clear that Scotty's tires were going away a little bit at the end of the stint there. I think those soft tires just weren't up
Yeah.
to that full run like that.
That's why I was surprised that Joseph put on blacks at that point. He stretched his penultimate stint until he only had 38 laps left. So I thought for sure we were going to see him come out with the reds, and he made the right call. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I was a little surprised. Scott, we knew, had to go on to the reds, so obviously he was going to stretch that penultimate stint as long as he could, and he only had 37 laps to go on them. So when he
Right.
pit and comes out with the reds, and he's ahead of Joseph, ahead of Alex, and Joseph dispenses Alex pretty quickly at that point. Then you're just sitting there wondering, okay, how long are these Reds actually going to last? Can they go the 37 laps? Because we know Joseph's making it to the end.
Right. And they might have. I mean, they did ultimately, and he finished third. But he had that mistake where he said, "I just turned late into the corner, and it pushed me up, and that was it. It cost him his race." So, from first to third, but hell of a finish. The thing that surprised me was then, he went up, brought out the yellow, and you saw the lead cars go, okay, track position, critically important. Everybody from 10 on back went and changed and got on new tires. And I thought, oh, here we go. This is going to be like last week. We're going to see some people really move up. And nobody moved up after that. I was really surprised that nobody jumped significantly from those bottom 10 cars.
Well, look, Scott had his little bobble and the caution came out on lap 204. I
Right.
I personally, I mean, I know why those cars came in
Yeah.
because this is the best chance that you have, but I never really I'm watching this one and I didn't have flashbacks to last week there. Even if they get the track cleared immediately, we've still only got 20 laps. Last week
Right.
I think we had 30.
Mm.
Um
Yeah. Somewhere it was, and the previous race, and Rasmussen said this in his press conference. He said in Milwaukee, he said if it's 22 laps, if it's 22, we're coming in to change tires. After that, no. But lap
Mhm.
22 was the one that they targeted on that. So I figured this would be about the same. Maybe not just because it's a faster track, but still, by the time they restarted and only 10 laps to go, there was
Yeah.
no way anybody was going to make a significant run up that field.
And I'm glad that they, I'm sitting there under that last caution, just going like, this is the best race I've watched all year. Restart it right now. I want to watch the race. But I'm glad they took the time, clear the track a little bit. Scott talked about in his race with Kiffin, he said, I was just going to hold that line until it wasn't suitable to drive anymore.
Right.
Um, and displayed a whole lot of courage staying in that position that just got him into trouble. Um, I I have to credit the fact that they cleared the track a little bit with his ability to do that and with his ability. I think we got the race with him and Kiffin because they got the track a little clean. So
Yeah, it was
thanks
it.
for that, IndyCar. I cursed you, but you were right.
It was interesting though at the same time when he said, "Yeah, I went up there. I was going to stay until I couldn't get any higher." And at the same time, Alex said, "I couldn't run up on that line." When someone asked him, "Did you have something to give to Joseph to try and get that?" And he said, I couldn't run that higher line. I was afraid of the marbles up there."
This alludes to something that Penske told us after the race as well, which was they felt very, very strongly and stated emphatically that the issues other drivers had with tires, they weren't having because they had so much data. They felt they knew exactly what they needed to do to keep those tires right. And I think it does show in the way, yeah, if you're contrasting the way Scott was driving with the way Alex was driving at the end of the race, those Penske drivers were more confident on the tires. Joseph was asked after Alex and after Pato had these issues, were you concerned at that point? And he said, honestly, no, because I have my team in my ear telling me what I needed to do to keep them in the right place. And I had confidence that we put the work in to be able to do this right.
Yeah, they said not only were they able to keep the tires in the temperature range throughout the race, he said we knew our deg was lower than anyone else's, which
They said
surprised me. Yeah.
compared to other teams after the race, their deg was significantly lower. And I think that that's a really that's great for Penske because they needed some kind of advantage, and I'm glad that they found somewhere where they can really put some work in and get some great results out of it.
Yeah. Well, we can't talk about this race without talking about Connor Daly.
Oh my God, Connor.
We said look out for him, right? Yesterday, he was one of the people, and he went from 20th,
24.
24 to
24.
5.
Wow.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was early as well.
Right.
He just carved his way through. And once he got up there, he never let go of that position. He held on as long as he could. He was at the when everybody started coming in for new tires, he was in the same position as Scotty where he needed to put on reds. He had only done the one stint on the alternate tire at that point.
Yeah.
He
Great race by him. And there were a lot of those. And when Rossi popped up to the front.
Oh my God. Yeah. There was a brief moment where we had to think about because we had seen he had pit 3 times and we said, did he come in with the leaders and the caution? And I remembered, no, he did start on the alternates, came in early. That's why he has 3 pit stops. He does need to make one more. Unfortunately, wasn't quite able to stretch that last stint long enough to be able to get into the pit window with the way Joseph was driving at the end of the race. I can't imagine Rossi being able to hold him off on tires that old anyway, even if he had been able to stretch that pit window. But still a really, really cool, great performance from him. He also started very low on the grid. And I just think that a couple of times over the last few races, Rossi has shown us why experience matters,
Mm-hmm.
why the choices that you make matter. He made that brilliant undercut last week that brought him right up with the leaders. Running this alternate strategy today was a fantastic choice for him. He was one of only 2 drivers to start on the alternate tire. He was able to dump a set of them early and not have to worry about another stint.
Yeah.
Overall, really great performance from him. You know who else I want to talk about?
Okay.
Santino.
Santino, he had a solid race again.
I know the finish wasn't, as incredible as it could have been, but you can't forget also he had to go to the back of the grid.
Right.
He took a penalty and had to go to the back of the grid. And then again, within 15, 20 laps, I see him at 14, 15. All of a sudden he's cracked the top 10. It was, we saw so many great recovery drives today.
Oh yeah, I mean, as we were texting back and forth during the race, at one point I did. Oh look, Power's lurking back there, and all of a sudden there he is passing everybody. It was so much fun today, and just such a great race, such a great way to end what was a phenomenal IndyCar season this year. I mean, we could go on talking about this race for another 15 minutes, easy. We haven't touched base. I talked about Dixon, who, while he didn't finish that high, he finished 12th. He secured third place in the championship. And
And
again,
unfortunately for Christian, he doesn't get the fourth place finish because of he didn't know what the issue was. I still don't. Um,
right.
God, what a bummer for him to have to
Tough
just
day.
sit this last race out. Tough day for McLaren.
Yeah. Tough day for McLaren and McLaren fans. Sorry. But, it did secure that third place finish for Dixon. And as Chip said, it's probably the quietest third place finish you've ever heard. And part of that is because Alex was so damn loud, right? He
Yeah.
drowned everybody out. Dixon was a race winner, right? He won Mid
Yep.
Ohio. He finished very high in a lot of races. He had a great season.
Yep.
So it's
We've
not
talked
like,
about how Pato had a numbers wise season that would have won a championship in many, many, many other seasons. Same for Dixon here, honestly. He's
right.
had a wonderful season.
Yeah.
Very, very easily could have won without the absolute dominance of
We'll talk
one
more about
driver.
that stuff next week, though.
Yeah,
It,
definitely.
it was great. It was great.
Um, one more thing we have to touch before we move on to other things. I want to talk about the what I'm calling the disaster laps.
Mm,
126. Well, actually, let's start it. It was a little bit earlier when Lungard got stuck in pit lane and he's sitting there and you're wondering, "Oh God, what's going on?"
right.
And then just a couple laps after I see Christian sitting there, Pato has a cut in his tire. Can't it happened at the worst possible time. I think that was my loudest scream of the race.
Yeah.
I just yelled, no, you hate to see a race end that way for a driver who was looking so strong.
Yeah. And to be behind the wheel and
Mm.
literally know there's nothing you can do at that point. The car is drifting up to the wall. You can't correct out of that. It's just, that was so frustrating because he was running so well. It would have been really fun to watch him racing with Newgarden, McLaughlin, and yeah, and Alex all at the very end.
The way Pato was running, and Newgarden did say early on in the race, my setup wasn't right. Every time I came in, we made small adjustments. And by my third, fourth time out, I knew it was a race winning car.
Right.
So when talking about how strong Pato looked at the beginning in comparison to other drivers were still making adjustments.
Yeah.
But
But Pato
watching
was
the way
strong
Pato was
from the beginning.
racing, ooh, it's really hard to imagine him not coming home with the win the way he was driving today and the way the car was performing. He had what looked like a really great straight line speed advantage when he was fighting Alex.
Yeah.
They get close coming around corners, and then by the end of the straights, he's pulled back up.
Yeah, he was
Um,
certainly a top three car, no question about it.
yeah,
So unfortunate for him. But that's
and
racing
then
again. Yeah.
so this happens. Okay, by lap 135, Will Power had a terrible pit stop.
Right.
Colton Herta picked up a penalty for an unsafe release.
Yep.
uh, it started, and all of these drivers are running within or close to the top five. So at this point, you're just thinking, okay, who's next to go? What is happening today?
Yeah. And then Louis Foster
Oh,
goes and, pushes Malukas out on the front straight. Yeah, Malukas came back and came down on him, but I mean, why are you doing that? You're a lap down.
Louis had no business making that move.
No, that was really bad racing. That was bad form on a lot of levels. Um, and I kind of feel bad that he won the Rookie of the Year after that move because, but then again, the move that
I was gonna
Schwartzman
say
put wasn't any better.
Schwartzman losing it because he put in a bad penalty made it sting a little bit less for
Right.
me that
Yeah.
Foster got to win it, making that move.
Because he blocked Ferrucci really badly, right? Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was
It was a pretty
another
clear.
inexcusable
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
I'm not a racer. I have never gotten behind the wheel of a race car. I've never put in a hot lap on any kind of track. I can look at what they both did and go, "Oh God, I know you don't do that."
Yeah. You don't move up into somebody at 200 miles an hour when they're coming by you like that. And for Schwartzman, you don't move three times going into a corner to try
No.
to block you just can't do that. So
Especially a driver like Ferrucci who won't back off. If you're trying to play chicken, you picked the wrong guy.
yeah, and it was pretty clear that he did because Ferrucci tapped him pretty good.
Yeah, right.
So it was,
And
anytime
happy
you
for
see smoke
Santino.
coming off a wing, that you've done something. So
And happy for Santino that he was able to get through that okay and still wind up with a strong finish in the race.
yeah,
That's a real positive for me because it could have
yeah, it could have been.
that could have ended his race, which as we discussed was a really great, incredible drive that was dynamic and full of passes and a lot of fun.
Yeah, it could have taken both of those guys out. So
Yeah.
fortunately, it
So
didn't, and we got the race we got, and it was worth the 2 hours to sit and watch that race, and I'll sit and watch it again sometime.
I'm gonna be sad that the season is over tomorrow. Today, all I can do is feel lucky that that's the product that they put on that track for us today. But I cheers to everyone involved. You did it. It was so good.
Cheers to IndyCar for a great race today.
And to Alex Pillow, congratulations on an absolutely historic season.
Absolutely. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, by the way.
No, it really couldn't. He's honestly like he's a sweetheart.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
I
what
mean, when you see him on the podium talking or at the press conferences, he's so relaxed, so easy to talk to, so
Mhm.
unassuming. When you bumped into him in Elkhart Lake and he was happy to take his picture with you, even though,
It wasn't at the track. It wasn't an official event. He
it
didn't have to do
was,
that.
yeah, it was on the streets before the night before the race. And he was happy and gracious about the whole thing. And, the way he talks about his family, I don't know if you saw
Mhm.
the interview before the race. I thought that was,
About his daughter,
yeah,
about how she taught him to be free and feel the joy in racing.
yeah, that
That's
was,
gorgeous.
yeah, it was really, that's solid stuff. And, the more people hear about this stuff, the more they'll get to know the drivers, the more people will come into IndyCar, because I think that's really what's missing is that
Mm.
connection that fans have with the drivers. And it's really good to see that kind of stuff. I think Fox is doing a nice job.
I think so too. And these drivers have got some great personality. We don't have to overly dramatize anything to make them compelling as characters. They already are.
Yeah.
They're all different and interesting guys and they're always really candid with journalists and their fans and I appreciate that about them.
Yep. And I'm looking forward to getting to know them better in the off season. Hopefully, we'll be able to get a few of them on the podcast. We'll be reaching out and see what we can do. So that'll all be a part of this as we move forward. So, should we close out our season picks now?
Yeah, I think we had ought to. I think it's pretty clear that the both of us could just sit mentioning things we loved about this race for hours, but don't necessarily have to if nobody else wants to sit through it. So let's move on to the game.
Okay, so let's start with the podium. How did yours turn out?
Well, not great, but I don't care. In P3, I had Josef Newgarden and Dad, you had Pillow. Is that
I
correct?
had Pillow P3.
So I get 1 point for having Josef Newgarden on the podium,
Hmm.
though in the wrong position. And you get 1 point for having Alex Pillow on the podium, though in the wrong position.
Correct.
My P2, I had Pato Award, who I definitely think would have finished on the podium.
I had
Good
Pato as
pick,
well.
just,
Yeah,
good
I
pick. Just,
I had him there as well. And then the top step.
oh, man. I'm really bummed that Malukas didn't get to finish this race. I had David Malukas on the top step. I still stand by. He is ready to win a race.
Yeah, he was
Luck
running
just didn't
strong.
go his day this way, or
Y-
luck didn't go his day this week.
Yeah, he was the unfortunate recipient of some bad driving
Yeah.
by.
But I think,
But
I think when we're talking about Malukas, what we can say is he showed what he needed to show to,
yeah,
regardless. I don't even want to talk about the seat right now. He did what he needed to do to go into next season with positive momentum.
he's a
We're
top.
all, regardless of what team he's driving for, we're going to talk about Malukas as a
Right.
top 10 finisher
He,
consistently next year.
yeah, he's a top tier driver in the IndyCar
Yeah,
series now, for
and
sure.
we know that.
Speaking of
So
top tier drivers in the IndyCar series,
I've
I
never
picked Josef Newgarden to finish first. So give me 2 points.
I have never in my life been happier to give away 2 points. The thing about being podcasters is that I can be a little bit biased. And I just,
Yeah.
this season has really made me feel positively about being a fan of Josef Newgarden. I couldn't be happier for him. I wanted this so badly. And the only reason I didn't pick him to win was because I thought I would just reek of bias. Um, I wanted to.
Well, I did that
I'm
for you. So there you go.
I'm very happy to give you those points.
All right.
Absolutely love it for him.
Cool.
Uh, so
Biggest
that
mover.
podium didn't go great for me, but here's what did. I picked Connor Daly, who moved from 24 to fifth. He did exactly the kind of thing you expect that guy to do on an oval. It was a beautiful thing to watch. And once again, that purple car makes it easy to spot. So it's a little bit more dramatic that way.
Yep. So you get your 2 points. So now we're tied for the
Mm.
day. All right.
All right. Who did you have for biggest mover?
For biggest mover, I had Rossi, which was a good pick. He moved 9 places.
That's a
So
great pick.
solid. And there was a point where it looked like he was going to finish top 10, or top five. And that would have been awesome. Still probably wouldn't have beaten. Um, yeah, but that's all
Still
right.
probably not quite enough, but a great pick and a solid performance. And again, he showed his experience in a really great way today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I know for biggest bust, we had both chosen Nolan Siegel,
Right.
who didn't.
He finished 1 place lower than he
Yeah,
started, so he wasn't the biggest bust of the race.
unfortunately, the biggest bust of the race is Pato,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, but again, if we said biggest
Running
running bust,
bust.
that's probably Will Power because he finished
Yeah.
21st. Or yeah, he was running at the end, right?
Yeah, he was running at
Yep.
the end. He did finish the race as I'm glad he
Yep.
did.
But he finished 21st after starting 10th. So
Yeah.
so neither of us for a point there. Bad
Once
boy.
again, I'm always happy to be wrong
Yeah.
about biggest bust. I think I also got this one right, and I really like the who's the bad boy category because we get to debate a little bit, and
Yep.
sometimes it can be a little contentious. I feel pretty strongly that Louis Foster is this week's bad boy.
He certainly was bad. That was a move that was just unconscionable to my mind. To move up into him like that, that's not good racing in any series, much less at 200 miles an hour on an IndyCar oval when you could really hurt somebody.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
Um,
and this is a great time for us to let everybody who's listening know that on the press conferences, they let us know that Malukas has been released from the hospital with a totally clean bill of health. I know we all saw him get into that helicopter, and maybe there's a little bit of worry. He is fine. Everything is going to be okay. But yeah, it's Louis. Like, what are you doing?
yeah, thanks
And
for mentioning that.
and it hurts even more that it happened to a driver who we all had our eyes on, who had a great story. And, I mean, not that you can do that to anybody. It's not better but it hurts the race more.
Yeah, and there were other bad moves of the race, but that was bad.
That was the doozy for me.
Yeah, as we mentioned, Schwartzman's wasn't much better, but the result wasn't as catastrophic. So
Yeah.
I'll agree to give you that one. I had picked Rasmussen, who, he wasn't his wasn't a bad move. It just happened to him,
Yeah.
and I thought he was going to run hard and try to make up places, and he would do something at some point, but he didn't get the chance to. God damn it!
Well, and I think getting himself into that clump of cars proves that you were right. He was trying.
Right.
That's it. He just picked the wrong time to do it in the wrong place, and
Yep. Yeah.
quite a shame. But
So
not bad. Can't
yeah.
blame him.
So you
So
so you get a point for that one.
I sure do.
So now you're
Uh,
up one,
I sure am.
eating into my 3-point lead.
I sure
So it
am.
all comes down to our wild, wild picks. And what was yours? Well,
I
actually, I'll
pre
start with mine.
Yeah.
I predicted that Ferrucci would finish top five.
And you were
So close. So
close. You were
close.
close.
Oh, 8. Oh, he could have. Yeah. I
I offered 5 points for that. I wouldn't have been mad to give him to you. It would have been really exciting to see Santino get up there toward the end. It just wasn't quite enough. And again, with him having to drop back at that point,
yeah.
I think you were there before that. Uh,
Yeah,
Unfortunately, just too much to make up. But he still was so impressive. And
he was.
while the letter of your prediction did not happen, I think the spirit did. I'm not giving you any points for that, but you can enjoy that, the knowledge that maybe you did something good.
Sounds
Um,
good.
I predicted an all Chevrolet podium, and you know, close.
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 2 out of 3
So
ain't bad, but it's
no,
not getting you any points.
it's not worth the 3 points you offered me for it.
Yeah. It could, I mean, at one point it looked like it was going to be that way, and Alex kind of fell back and all that stuff. But man, can that guy race? And
he's a special driver.
yeah,
We're lucky to be watching this guy drive a car.
and we will be watching him for many years to come, it sounds like, based on how
Uh,
he was talking at the press conference, joking with his team manager about, who is older, but certainly not anywhere near retirement. He said, "You're going to be with me for 8 more years." We talked about that, right?
he says
So,
he promised me 8 years, and in 8 years we'll talk again.
so
But
there you
we're
go,
not going to
folks.
address it until then.
That's the scoop of the day. Alex Palou committing to 8 more years in IndyCar.
Oh God, what a happy timeline we've found ourselves in if that's our reward at the end of this season. Well, look, I picked up points on you today. I picked up one, but you had a 3 point lead for our championship.
Season
Unfortunately,
champion.
yes, the
What do,
champ.
what do I get?
Bragging rights, and maybe I'll bedazzle you a hat.
Uh, Bragging rights are good enough. I don't do bedazzle, so thank
I don't
you.
know. Might bring out the twinkle in your eye.
Maybe. We'll see. So, but yeah, that's fun. We'll have more fun with it next year, and we'll also set it up online so people can join in the fun and participate in these contests. Again, I just want to let everyone know this is just a start for us. This podcast, a few of the articles we put online at Rides and Drives. We're going to be doing content every week from now until the start of the season in St. Pete. We'll be at St. Pete. We'll be talking to drivers, team owners, other influential people throughout the off season. And so keep tuning in, because the racing doesn't stop just because the season has. So we're really looking forward to continuing this.
More than anything, what we want is a place where we can come and talk about IndyCar with people who like it as much as we do. I don't care if you've been watching it for 1 year or 20. Come along for a ride with us.
And the other thing that I'm really hoping this does is it opens it up to new fans too. Because, you know, as great as that race was, those stands weren't packed today. And a lot of people missed a great race. And I want to see packed stands at every IndyCar event. And if we can do anything to help make that happen, then that makes me a happy boy.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Sold out races make for a better race day. And if we're going to be there, I want everybody else to as well.
That's right. So let's call it a season, Kaz.
I think we have to. Much as I wish we could just reboot and do it again, this is the end of the 2025 IndyCar season. Like Harvey said, please do keep an eye on our podcast. We will continue releasing both audio and written material throughout the off season, starting with a season recap next week. Excited to keep talking to you guys, and more than anything, looking forward to 2026.
That sounds great. So thank you, everyone, for joining us at Rides and Drives Team Radio. We will see you with the season wrap-up next week. Cheers.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.